Did the committee get it right? Is there a team in the 11 or 12 or inside of that range? Do they deserve to be there, right? And is it the correct seating? Because I've seen some things and some comments made from coaches and athletic directors are being very vocal right now about the whole seating. We should go back to BCS. It should be, the top 12, regardless if you win your conference. And the conference champions don't necessarily need to have a bye week, blah, 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 blah. And that's just the questions I got. Did the committee get it right this time? Probably not.
They got it wrong because Miami's not in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beard Zone Sports Talk. I'll be tonight's host, Scooter, and I got Carlos with me. How you doing, man?
Good.
Dude,
better than David.
Dude, for real, yeah. So David's out right now. He's got strep throat or the yearly bug. So prayers to him, and hopefully he gets better soon. Because it's definitely a good trifecta when all three of us are on here. Let us run rampant there, Dave. But on tonight's college episode, we got some stuff to talk about. Bill Belichick getting hit up for the UNC job at Charlotte by Mac Brown. It has been swell. Enjoy your retirement. Bill Belichick is not retiring, apparently, completely. And then we got Heisman coming up this weekend. And then next week, we got the bracket, the very first college playoff football bracket to digest over, and we're going to hit that. But first, hit the like, hit the subscribe, follow, get the alerts, share with some family and friends, coworkers. Leave some comments down there. Let us know if we're right, wrong, whatever. But
we're never wrong.
Dude, if you look at the NFL episodes, don't take me on the win-loss. So whatever I go with, I'm dead last.
Oh, good.
But to hit it first, man, we had it in the news. Bill Belichick is now a college coach. We've seen him in the NFL. We've seen all of the progress with the Patriots and the kind of downfall on his back end, right? And without Brady, yes, he's a genius. His style may be very different for the college world, and I'm curious your thoughts. Is picking up Bill Belichick for the Tar Heels good, bad, indifferent, or we just kind of like roll the dice?
It's an odd signing by him. Like, he's gonna have opportunities to coach in the NFL next year, and for him to go to college it's just a different ball game. Like, it's so different, and he's a control freak guy. He wants total control, and he won't have that in college. I mean, he'll have control of the game and what he calls, but you got boosters. Well, the NIL is much different now. I mean, it's just how does he do in recruiting? It's going to be an odd thing. I do know one thing: their NIL budget is definitely going to go up. I know that was one topic of discussion, and oddly, it's in the clause that his son Steven has to be the next coach after him. So it's a weird stipulation that I saw a few minutes ago before we got on. Like, okay, so we know his son will be there, but it is weird. It's not the same game as like the pros. The pros, you get your general manager, and you're only looking at in a draft maybe like 50, 60 people that are coming through that draft because what your needs are. Now he's going to have to look at 500 to 600 kids throughout the country, and Bill Belichick's not the most charismatic guy. I can't imagine him wooing a kid in his house. Like, it doesn't. That's not the Bill Belichick with his hoodie. Like, come on, I don't see it. And
he wooed a college girl, so I mean, anything's possible.
All right, I take it back.
There's a softball. There you go.
Dang it. It's going to be interesting because in the NFL, you build like he can draft a Tom Brady, and you got Brady for years, and then you can get a Gronk, you can get these, but you're only recruiting kids for now maybe a year. You don't know how long you're going to
Yeah.
have these kids anymore. At most, he's going to have them for 4, maybe 5 if the kid gets redshirted. So he doesn't have that dynasty outlook anymore. So it's going to be very interesting for him.
So speaking of the 4-year, 5-year model, right? So sidebar for this. Everyone's got to pay attention to law, right? The NIL changed the game for the NCAA, especially college football. Now, colleges will only be reimbursed for 4 years for a student athlete. So now they may have to redshirt and pay for their own college. Now, if you're making $7 million or whatever a year, that's irrelevant. But for these guys only making 20 grand or nothing, and they're riding on scholarship for 4 years, see ya. I'm hitting the NFL at 4 years, maybe less. So that is something to consider. Bill Belichick, like you said, man, you hit it on the head. Like he's gonna want to have control of the GM scenario too. I think from a scheming standpoint, he's probably where they want it, right, in the head coach department. But as far as recruiting, everyone has seen Bill Belichick's press conferences. He's the most bland, unenergetic guy next to Todd Bowles. Like, it's like, okay, Grandpa, where's my NAL money? Where are the boosters at? Yeah, I want to go pay for. Do you want to play for Prime? Do you want to play for DeBoer? Do you want to play for Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, or Bill Belichick? Or now you got with Miami, or Norvell, who's trying to steal his old staff back to start winning games at FSU. And FSU actually did pretty well in the recruiting ground, even tanking this year. And UNC, man, I feel like this is kind of a spark to see where they can get for the future. The whole Steve Belichick from Washington's defensive coordinator back on to being a head coach, that's a reach. I don't think he's really head coach material. I think the mullet and drooling on the sidelines while chawing on his, number 2 pencil is a little weird, but I feel like if Bill can turn the program around in like 2 years, I'm not saying a full turnaround. I'm not saying going undefeated. Yeah. I'm just saying like 7 or 8 wins in the season by year 2. I think they'll have a good way forward. But I guess we'll see. It's the ACC. They squeaked away with 2 in the playoff. We'll get to that. But you mentioned it. Talent, historical talent. Brady was not for the Heisman. But we have potentially the first time in many years, probably since Derrick Henry, potentially a non-quarterback Heisman Trophy winner. So the finalist list came out. You got Travis Hunter. Dude, stellar. Absolute impact on the field, both sides of the ball. Probably special teams too if you let him, or you're going to risk it. Ashton Genty. I mean, the next coming of Barry Sanders. I don't care if he's playing in the Mountain West or not. He's putting up ridiculous stats, and he's pulling his team into the playoffs. Let's be real. They were behind on like 2 to 3 games, and he just said, give me the ball.
Yeah.
Then you got Dylan Gabriel with the Oregon Ducks. And from an accuracy standpoint, he reminds me of like a combination of Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. He can chuck it down the field. He's very mobile. He's very like elusive. He's like almost like a Mahomes. He's deceptive like that. Like he can actually run that fast. And then you got your boy out of Miami, Cam Ward, who I think would have been a much higher runner here in the Heisman had they gone to their championship. And I know that's very bitter for you, but he's again put up incredible stats in just the games that we've played so far. In college world, the records do go on into your bowl games historically. I don't know how they're going to change that now with the playoff, but I don't know who you have for the front runner, but all of these guys look very capable of winning.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because we haven't, like with Travis Hunter, you would think he's the front runner because he plays both sides of the ball, plays 135, 40 snaps a game. He's a really good wide receiver. He's got 92 catches, over 1,100 yards, 15 total touchdowns. But then you have Genty, who is a beast, 2,500 yards, and he said something. I've been giving this guy a little bit of crap throughout the whole season because he isn't playing the toughest competition. But he did say, and I was like, this guy's probably right, that every week they're trying to stop him, not the quarterback. So they're
It's
loading
so
the
true.
boxes, they're doing everything, and the guy still runs. You got to give it up to Boise's offensive line, too, and those guys blocking, because you can't run for that many yards and not have an offensive line. And Boise got those big corn-fed boys up there. So I don't think Dylan Gabriel. I think he's the long shot. I really think it's down to Hunter, Cam Ward, and Genty. But I think Hunter and Genty are the favorites. Cam has a great year, over 4,000 yards. I think he has 46, 47 total touchdowns. He's the only player that I know of that's thrown one, caught one, and rushed four. So he's done all three. I don't know if Hunter's done it, but I know Genty
He's like
hasn't.
Josh Allen for the college
Yeah,
world.
he's got a receiving touchdown, rushing touchdowns, and he's throwing for touchdowns. So I'm biased. I want Cam to get it. He had a great year. There was some times that unfortunately one more game and they're in the playoffs. But I think it's Genty's gonna get it. Just to have that type of year, I can't see this guy not getting it. I mean, he's 30 total touchdowns, 2,500 yards is ridiculous. So I kind of see him not running away, but I think it's gonna be a close one.
I mean, you're saying these stats, and now that we're talking this out even more, I'm gonna put some comparisons out there for the four guys, and maybe 3 out of 4 because I'm having a hard time with Dylan Gabriel's comparison here, other than a Drew Brees, but more elusive, like a Doug Flutie scatty guy, Heisman winner. So there's that for Dylan Gabriel. Travis Hunter is the closest thing we've gotten, or better than Deion Sanders. Okay? And that is decades away. Like, let's be real. He's the closest thing from the dual threat on both sides. He can catch on both sides. He can score touchdowns on both sides. And he's putting up respectable numbers at wide receiver and still getting interceptions. So, Travis Hunter, Deion Sanders comparison. Ashton Genty is Barry Sanders. Okay, let's put this into perspective here. He has more touchdowns than Derrick Henry did, and Mark Ingram. He has 1,000 yards more than both of them. I got it. They're in the SEC. Blah 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 blah. He has 1,000 yards more and more touchdowns, and they both won it. He's arguably up there with Barry Sanders as far as best running back in college history. Then you have Cam Ward, who's looking like RG3 Heisman winning. So you have, to me, like you said, Dylan Gabriel's probably the long shot, but you have 3 athletes right now that are putting up very respectable numbers, even in history. Like Cam Ward looking like RG3's run. RG3's run looked ridiculous for Baylor. And he's playing in Miami. Like, they went from, and you know this, you guys struggled a couple years ago, and then he shows up year one, I think his like 6th or 5th year in college or whatever because of injuries, but he's putting up basically the same numbers of playing in the Big 12 and the SEC. He did it in the Pac-12 too the year before that. Ashton Genty, again, dude's just, his O-line is spectacular, and he needs to buy them a lot of dinners if he wins. And then, dude, if I had to really look at it, I don't know how you don't give it to Genty. He's like, 200 and something yards away from beating Barry Sanders? Yeah. And the other guys didn't. I know Ward beat records for Miami, but didn't set records in the league. Travis Hunter is an anomaly that we'll probably never see again now that we got NIL and everything else, unless some kid comes out in the next 40 years, I think, is the separation between him and Deion. So, at least in college playing. So, I would lean more towards Boise State's Ashton Genty. I might be more biased because I'm tired of seeing the quarterbacks. I mean, the quarterback play was really good. I think if Jackson Dart put up like 5 more touchdowns and an extra like 500 yards, maybe not 500, maybe another 300 because he still got like 4,000 or something or close. And they actually went to the championship too. I think that's where Genty gets the edge out of all of them. Records and the championship win. I know that's not supposed to matter, but that really helps when it comes to voting, right? The impact in the game.
It does. And I feel like Genty has the most impact on his team. If you take him off of that and
they're awful.
Yeah, you stick him somewhere else. But Travis, you kind of mentioned a little bit Travis Hunter. He's an anomaly. We won't see this again for a long time. To be a shutdown corner, but also be so good at wide receiver, and you can't really afford and possibly the number one pick in the draft. But I just think when you look, if I take Travis Hunter off of that team, they may not win a game or two, but if you take Genty off of Boise, you can flip flop the record. You know, they're probably like a 2-10 team. This guy is just, he's good, man. So I still think he's a front runner, but I could see if Travis Hunter wins it. I get it. I get the premise of the guy playing both sides, but for a whole game, Dion never played for a whole game. He just came in, did some punt returns, and periodically, every once in a while, came in for offense. But Hunter's doing it. I don't know if he can do that in the NFL. I just feel like the body won't be able to do it. But he's a nice weapon as your third down receiver. You imagine that guy's your third down receiver, and then he's your shutdown corner. Like,
he's got sure hands too.
He's going to be a weapon. Like, it's going to be crazy to see if he can do this in the NFL. If he can do it in the NFL, holy crap, man! I don't ever anybody doing this at any kind of a level that he's doing it. You know, where the percentage is 100. This guy's 100% on the field, where others were 90% defense and 10% offense. So it's gonna be interesting for sure. But I still think Genty wins it. I don't know how he. Man, I just don't know how he doesn't win it. But I think the two quarterbacks are actually weirdly are kind of the long shots. It is refreshing to see it's going to another position.
And I know we're in like a weird time in college football, and it's fantastic. I've loved every minute of this season. I was reading some analysts and some, when you go down the rabbit holes on the comment section, someone said that the Heisman Trophy is now turning into a popularity contest because Travis Hunter is on there. I was like, I don't know about all that when you start looking at tape. But when you want to talk about popularity contests and watching the Crimson Tide miss the college football playoff, I think it was, there's like a picture of like a grave and a bunch of people celebrating. And it was like Alabama's in the grave and every other team's like, yeah, it's like when America celebrates when Bama misses the playoff. You know, it's crazy because if I'm not mistaken, they missed the first 4-team playoff. And then we had everything with the whole FSU scenario. And, the 12-team playoff is no short of controversy either. So, for the Beard Zone Sports Talk point of view, I mean, I really wish Dave was on here for like the whole nuance to college football isms, right? I got a couple questions. And this also can be in the comment section as well. Did the committee get it right? Is there a team in the 11 or 12 or inside of that range? Do they deserve to be there, right? And is it the correct seeding? Because I've seen some things and some comments made from coaches and athletic directors are being very vocal right now about the whole seeding. We should go back to BCS. It should be, the top 12, regardless if you win your conference. And the conference champions don't necessarily need to have a bye week, blah, 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 blah. And that's just the questions I got. Did the committee get it right this time? Probably not.
They got it wrong because Miami's not in.
They got it right because Bama's not there because of their trash losses between Vandy and Oklahoma. But they also have an argument, right? Indiana, SMU, and Boise do not have top 25 wins outside of their conference championship game. Bama and Miami have top 25 wins. However, they also have really egregious losses. So did the committee get it right?
So I heard something that was fantastic. I don't know who the reporter is that reported it, and I think what's happened in past years is that they judge teams by the patches on their jerseys. And what I mean is by the SEC patch, the Big Ten patch. And the SEC patch outweighs a lot of stuff. So that's one reason why I'm so happy Alabama didn't get in. Because you would have had you have a Pac-10 team won the Big Ten. So it ain't that the Big Ten
And the
was that
Big
much
12.
better. And a Pac-12 team won the Big 12. And then you have a Big 12 team that showed up in the SEC championship game. And then you have an American Conference team that goes to the ACC game. So we got to stop looking at, oh, this is the conference, this is the conference. You have teams that are coming in that can compete. They're just happen to be in those other conferences. But I don't, man, I'm glad I'm not the one that has to. They're going to find out if they got it right the first round of the playoffs, but I don't think they got it right. I can tell you now, I don't think SMU deserves a shot in there. You lose to a team that's 3 losses, that's ranked 16th in the rankings, the playoff rankings right now.
Yeah.
And how are you ranked ahead of them in the playoff rankings when you lost to them? So I don't think they should get in. And they don't have a signature win all year. They don't have any signature win that you can go, hey, they have it that can beat a team. They couldn't beat a 3-loss team. They don't have Pittsburgh's their other signature win. That's their only signature win is Pittsburgh. And at that time they were ranked like 18th for Pittsburgh and
Something like
SMU
that.
was 20th. Yeah, and they finished well outside the top 25. So I don't think SMU should have got in. And honestly, I would have been fine with the ACC just having, if you're going to do it that way, Clemson, you're in because you won. But that's it. I would have rather seen, I guess for the popularity part, I would have rather seen a Miami to see Cam Ward in there, or I would have honestly taken the Gamecocks. I would have rather seen South Carolina just beat Clemson. So, or something of that nature. And I hate that they're SEC teams, but and the other one I don't like is Penn State. I don't like it. They're 2 games they play against ranked people, they don't win. Like, come on. So you're going to stick them in the playoffs against high-ranked teams and expect they're going to go on a run all of a sudden? When has Penn State ever gone on a run? Sorry, Nittany fans that are, that Valley is only happy.
Like it was like 3 years old or something.
Yeah, like I can't. Joe Paterno was there. Like, come on, like that was literally it. Their last big win was against Miami, and we're pretty sure Vinny Testaverde threw that game. Miami was
Probably.
beat them in every category possible, and somehow he throws 5 picks that game. Very weird and very bad picks. And the guy was on a Heisman season, so that was their last big wins. Like, I just don't think they should have got in. I'm okay with everybody else. I'm okay putting Indiana in there to a degree. And I'm okay with Boise. You got to have the Cinderella teams that are in there. But I would have rather taken those 2 guys out. I would have seen in Miami. Really, I would have probably rather seen Alabama or Ole Miss in there than those 2 teams. I just don't think those 2 teams should be in. I don't like it. How in the hell Penn State still ranked 4 in the power rankings? I don't get it. Like, I'm still waiting on a good win. Purdue, they beat Purdue, great.
Everyone beat Purdue this year. Yeah.
I just don't get how they're ranked against higher than Penn State or Ohio State. Like, I get it, Ohio State lost against Michigan, but I just don't get how they're 4th. I don't understand it.
Well, I guess we'll see how good Alabama is because they got to play Miami or Michigan in the bowl season. So if Alabama wants to prove a point, beat Michigan, and we'll see if you get it next year. But I will say, I think that the committee got it right in essence, right? You gave the conference champions their in. They shouldn't get a first round bye unless they're in the top 4. I'm just going to say that much. I think Clemson even looks like garbage. They should not have won that game. I'm just going to throw that there. SMU should have won. It was a garbage last-second kick. and Dabo Sweeney is probably on thin ice because of everything else. But yeah, Indiana not having signature wins. Boise, I think you had it right. The Cinderella story. Boise had an opportunity in the early 2000s and wasn't given really much of a shot. Same thing with Oregon, and now Oregon's in the mix. And Oregon's proved it. I'm just going to throw that out there. They've proved it. Texas kind of proved it. Their only two losses really are
Georgia.
And now, okay, so Georgia doesn't have their quarterback, potentially. So we're going to have another FSU scenario, right? Maybe not, because Stockton came in and took a concussion for the team for the win. That kid got wrong.
He took a shot. He doesn't. Thank God they got time to heal, and they've got extra time.
Yeah.
They're probably weirdly better off without Beck. Beck has been playing like crap. That injury probably saved their season.
Yeah. Dude came out with like a limp arm, was like, I got this. I got it. Like, hey, you should sit the bench, man. No. Yeah, like I said, if you gave the big four, the conference winners, an automatic in with the same scenario with the fifth conference, the highest ranked fifth conference, you give them their automatic in. But, and I was listening to a couple athletic directors and some coaches. Steve Sarkisian had a very good point. The March Madness model, yes, they win their conference, they get an in. The athletic director said, I can't remember if it was it's like a Big 10 or Big 12. I think it might have been Big 12. But they said if you took the BCS standings model, which is a bunch of computer models and calculations, and you say, hey, this is the top 12. If you're not a conference champion, then we'll go from there. And then you give them their seeding based on that. And then you calculate the conference champion thing in there too with the whole rankings in the playoffs section. Now, where I think that makes sense is the changes that we could realistically see next year. Now, wild card change, realign everybody because all the conferences don't make any regional sense. Okay, you have 16-team playoff, right? I'm stealing this from a coworker of mine because it sounded really, really good, and we were really bored. You take the entire country and you break it out into 8 regions, okay? 8 regions. And you play your entire conference. You have 128 or 130 teams. I can't remember how it breaks out to. But you play at least half your conference. You have to play, 8 games? SEC does 8. Big 10 does 9. Screw it. You play 9 teams within your conference. Okay? You play 3 out-of-conference teams at random. So there's no scheduling cupcake games or anything else like that. You play 8 in your conference. Keep your rivalries if you can. If you can, because some are Notre Dame and USC, which is going to be messed up. Then those can be your out-of-conference games if you want to honor that. So if you want to do they'll give you that option. Then your round of 16 to get into the 8 is to win your conference, period. And then you go from there. That is the chaos scenario that my coworker and I were coming up with, mostly him. But, if we want to do this whole fairness thing, you have to totally scrap this whole super conference stuff and just strictly throw it to the regions. And, you might have the Northwest, the North or the Southwest, Central, Sub-Central, like where you got the East Coast that has like 1,800 teams in one area. Like, technically, if you think about it, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio could just be one conference.
Yeah.
And then you got the whole Florida itself, between Florida, Georgia, and like South Carolina could be one conference.
Oof. I don't know if
Florida's got a ton of... What?
I don't know if I want to be part of that conference. Miami,
exactly.
USC, Florida, Florida State, Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia, yeah. You have like Georgia State with Georgia, Georgia Tech, South Carolina, Clemson, Florida, Florida State, UCF, USF, FAU. We'll throw them in there. Like FAMU. We'll put FAMU in there. Like, actually, technically, Florida could probably just be its own conference. But
They could. There's enough
Yeah.
going on in Florida.
But you would have to kick some of the whole 138 out. Like Kennesaw, bye. Like it is what it is. Liberty, bye. Like
Yeah. I
you
did
got
see
Toledo,
that somebody say that, like, just play your conference game because it's getting to be so many games for these college kids.
Yeah.
Like, somehow, how do you do it and then make more of a tournament style at the end? But you can't have I mean, they're going to be playing almost as many NFL games, which is kind of crazy. But in hindsight, they get paid pretty good now. So go play your games.
Yeah, what was it? Shador Sanders is making 10 mil. I can't argue. Go play football, bro.
That's insane to me.
Look, they had the NIL. NIL was like Texas, and it was like Texas and A&M, and there was another school was like 20 million and then 17 million. I was like, okay,
yeah.
Let's slow down, everybody.
And then next year, the school gets to put money in. So you have Texas was number one at 22 million, and then Ohio State and LSU were the 20 million guys.
Yeah.
And then you have Georgia, Texas A&M. They were over the
FSU,
17.
I think, was in there too.
Yeah, Florida's in there, even though they screwed over the one kid. And Clemson is
it's
up
all
there.
TJ Lagway.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and then of course Bama. Both of those are the one that surprised me the most was Clemson being almost at 16 million. I was like, really? I didn't think Dabo was that much, but it makes me feel better that Miami wasn't in there. So we got Cam Ward and we saved some money. So in a sense, well, he's our Baker Mayfield contract.
Yeah, it played out well. It's the last game of the season, man. It's crazy. That actually, the last game of the regular season, not the championships, just screwed so many teams over. The whole Texas and then A&M and then you have Miami and Syracuse. Like Miami-Syracuse might be coming back as like a legit rivalry from the Big East, and I'm so for it, man.
Yeah, that was a good one back in the day when McNabb was there. I didn't enjoy it this year, but it was a good rivalry. It was always a tough game for Miami. It's just one of those teams. You always have that team that plays your team tough, no matter the record. It doesn't matter the record. They're just and ours is Georgia Tech and freaking Syracuse, which is two teams we lost against. And I don't know why we're not beating the crap out of Georgia Tech every year. I mean, it's not that hard of a offense to. I mean, it's a triple option. Like, come on, it's
not anymore. If you watch the tape, man, they're multiple offense. And Georgia Tech, the way they play, ACC with Georgia Tech and Duke this season, ACC better watch out.
You know what the craziest player is to come out of Georgia Tech? Megatron.
I was about to say, I don't know who else you're going to put under that one.
That's crazy that guy came out of Georgia Tech, and that's when they ran the triple option. Like
how the hell did they recruit that guy?
Yeah, like one of the greatest wide receivers of all time ends up at Georgia Tech.
But that's college football, man, and we live for the chaos. I love it. And again, leave your comments below. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let us know how crazy you think we are, or how stupid, or how smart. Some of us come up with some good ideas, and some of us have some really good takes. Some it's very similar sounding, and some are like, you know what, I was thinking about that. Leave a comment, hit the like, hit the alerts. And without further ado, Beard Zone